Hey, Duke fans, welcome back. Over the next few episodes, we're going to be talking about players who are making their transition to the NBA, starting with AJ and Paolo. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us this fall for our live shows. Go Duke. Let's go straight into the freshmen who are leaving,
Yeah.
because this was pretty special freshman class actually. This is and for AJ, it was really, as you were pointing out, a story of these 2 seasons, right? He had that knee injury in the offseason. He was coming off of it. We knew he could be good, and he proved it, that he was really good. Because over the non-conference games, these really big ones, Kentucky, like he scores 2 points. He plays for 6 minutes against Gonzaga, doesn't score anything. 2 minutes, no points against Ohio State. And then like he finally starts to come on, and then he ends up averaging about 10 points per game. But in reality, it was the road games that AJ loved playing on the road. Apparently, so did this team. But like he was shooting 16 points per game, shot 55% from the field and 55% from three on the road. And then he just had these like crazy games where he goes off. It's
hmm
like 22 points against Wake, 22 points against Louisville, 27 in the first Carolina game, team high of that one. I mean, hits 6 3-pointers against Syracuse, 5 3-pointers 2 other times against conference players. I mean, pretty tremendous here. What do we think about AJ's game, especially as it transitions into the NBA?
I mean, when he first, he kind of got rolled out to us
Yeah.
in like tidbits, because they didn't throw him, they're not throwing him into 30 minutes a game day one. So he kind of got tidbits, but there was like moments. I mean, we knew that he was very good. He had just dealt with some injury stuff in high school, and there were some questions around that. But like, you could watch, the videos and stuff on him and see some of his skill set. But it's, is he still able to do that? Especially when you're talking like explosiveness that it takes to do some moves. Like, was that still there? Because that could like drastically affect a person's game. And then he did these little tidbits, and he came out, and like I think I remember like one of the first games he was in, he comes out and he's just on the perimeter, and he gets the ball and he's kind of, just looking to see who's open, considering maybe driving or shooting. And he just like did the move that's like kind of standard these days, where it's just kind of the one dribble to the side, but you step in and then hop back to create space. Like it's a pretty common, like the little 2-step 3-point shot step back. And he did it like that. And next thing, like he was literally, doing one of these, like the guy's right on him. And then he just did this move. And next thing you know, they're 3 feet apart, and he just drains the three. And and you see that move, the explosiveness that takes, because it's hard. You have to put a lot of weight on one foot and then reverse your direction, and comes up and that's, and you see the shot. And I was just like, okay. And then, we saw him a little bit of defense in that same game. And you see him in his stance, and it's just like everything looked good. He's nice and low. And you realize like his size and the quickness that he was moving. Like I was like, oh, he can guard up a little bit. He can guard down a little bit. And then there was at some point, I think in the game subsequently is when he started kind of doing some more driving. And like, that's when you saw he had like the skill set to do just some tight, like dribble combinations just to go by guys. And I was like, oh my goodness, he has incredible ball control. I mean, great handles, smooth shot. And just, I mean, confidence. I mean, it just grew exponentially. I mean, he did not mind shooting the ball, and it's smooth. And I don't see, you could tell the range wasn't really an issue. So I think it'll translate pretty easily to the NBA.
Yeah. No, he's NBA ready. Even having to deal with the injuries and coming back from the injuries, I think every single person knew he's NBA ready. He's got an NBA body. I mean, the guy is freaking jacked. Like he is built, and he was like that even during the injury recovery, which is actually really hard to do. So you can tell he takes care of himself. The coaching staff, obviously, and the strength and conditioning people, they obviously helped. But the other piece of it that people don't tend to talk about is his dad is an assistant coach in the NBA for the Raptors. So he's been around the X's and O's. The guy knows these things. He's probably been getting some of the best training out there, right? Like ever since he was a kid, which makes sense as to why he has these NBA level moves and skills that he's basically now refined and practiced, and he's got them, and they are now his skills. Like he can show it against the best competition. at least for right now in college. But I looked at the CBS big board. He's seventh overall on the big board. He's going to be a top 10 pick. He'll be a lottery pick for sure, because he's got the size, he's got the range, he's got the handles, and he's got the body. And actually, he has potential, which is the scary part. He's not even the complete package. Like, he still has so much room to grow and get better. Yeah. I mean, I'm so happy we had him for 1 year, but off to the NBA with you, please.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, go ahead.
I was saying, we found out, for people that like didn't know, like Justin, you alluded to who his father was, that, we found out like during the tournament when he had his sister was also in the Final Four on the women's side.
Oh yeah.
And then, and he also has an older brother, who was also played for Illinois, I want to say the Illini, and was also a good player for the Illini. And it's like, I think there was like an article that came out where they're, talking about it, and it was like, oh, they used to play, 2-on-2 in the, driveway, or, whenever they went to the local gym. And it was like, I think it was like the daughter and the dad versus like AJ and his brother, or some combination like that. It's like usually the daughter and dad won because the, daughter was so good as well or something. And the two brothers always, their on-court chemistry wasn't as good as you would think it was, so it caused some problems. But then you think about it, and it's like, okay, dad's former NBA player, good, great college player, former NBA player, like brother college player, AJ Griffin, sister also good. It's like that's a pretty good familial 2-on-2.
Yeah.
Talking about the draft and the lottery, we'll be live for the lottery, by the way, because there's so many of our guys in it, and that first round that we want to be watching that, and with all the Duke fans. So make sure you come back and join us for that. But let's talk about another guy going in the lottery, maybe even the first pick.
Okay, it's not Patrick. That's why he ignored me in the beginning. But what is your name, sir?
Paolo Banchero.
It's Paolo Banchero, and this kid was fun to watch. From day one, this guy was the real deal. Yep. As Stephen A. Smith would say, box office. Office. You must watch television. You turn it on, and you have to be watching what Paolo Banchero is doing. I mean, I don't know what else. He's got all the accolades, right? He's the most outstanding player in the West Regional. He averaged almost 19 points a game in the tournament. Like, it's just insane. He's got the inside game, he's got the outside game, he can take it to the rim, he can step back and shoot, he gets the turnaround fadeaway. I mean, maybe aside from a little bit of defense here and there, and he started the season cramping, but that was fixed very quickly. Like, this kid can just do it all. It was just incredibly fun to watch.
Yeah. We don't need to keep harping on his accolades or anything. Man, like such a unique skill set, right? Like, how many college players do you know are going to be hitting that fade at the baseline every time? How many players then can also take the ball and bully it in against almost anyone and get to the rack, get an and one? His free throw shooting improved as the season went on. I think he ended up with 73% from the line. Not bad. It could get better, but not bad. But he was also averaging 8 boards, 3 assists on the season. Like, so he's finding teammates, he's getting into the lane, getting boards. I mean, besides like, the RJ Barrett, Zion Cam show from a few years ago, you could add in like Marvin Bagley was also another one that was like, man, that's a must-watch player. Paolo was a must-watch player. Like, you have to. If he's got the ball in his hands, something special is going to happen. So either top 3 for sure for the draft. I think he should go hopefully number 1. I think in terms of skills, I think he's the best player, but obviously biased. So we'll see. I just hope he doesn't end in like some super dysfunctional franchise. Like Marvin ended with the Kings, and that was like the worst.
Okafor situation was terrible.
Yeah, the Okafor situation too. Like, you just end in a dysfunctional situation. I am just very hopeful that doesn't happen for him.
Yeah, that's the thing. You always, anytime you get the argument from any Duke haters where they're like, oh, but show us where the Duke fans are in the NBA. I mean, this year you can clearly point to several in the playoffs right now. But then they'll say, oh, not those ones, like all, and they'll start trying to like rattle off a list of, like you just mentioned, of like guys. And I'm like, that's how sports works. Like
Yeah.
the drafts work. Unfortunately, the best players go to teams that are trying to like resurrect themselves. Sometimes I think it's like almost better to get kind of drafted weirdly in the late end of the first round, because you kind of maybe end up on like a middle team that's pretty good. They're just looking for an extra spark, and like then you're good. Or you luck into a thing where some team traded up super high to get you and gave up a lot of picks, did some deal, and you end up on a great team. Yeah, I think Banchero, I mean, he was excellent. He just had a 6'10" with the skill set he had. He just came in. I think it's sometimes you still have to remember he was still a freshman.
Yep.
And it shows as my mother, who has a very high standard for Duke players. She would sometimes say, "Oh, I hate Banchero," and it would just be in reference to like a turnover that seemed very costly here or there, like those things like that. But then you still look at it, it's like, oh yeah, he still had 20 points, 10 rebounds every game or something, and it's like there was other players that wouldn't be able to do that, and they'd still be also making those like turnovers too. And that's the thing you really recognize. And like you said, the skill set he had, I mean, some of the shots and stuff you could see other guys making, but like, can they also do it against the other teams like 6'11" defender? It's like, no, they can't. But he can, because he's 6'10", and he can crack them off the dribble because he also can do that. Just like, I mean, just a repertoire of moves, and it was clutch when you needed to get one. He was a key part of this team and why we were there. I mean, the accolades don't need to be, repeated. There's too many.